Okay, next thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to go kind of quick through this because I know how smart you all are and that you are fully capable of filling out forms. And I always like quotes, and I like this one kind of spoke to me a little bit. What the world really needs now is more love and less paperwork. Thank you, Pearl Bailey. Okay, here's just a few things about the financial reports. You can find them on the SJD portion of the NAWGJ website. Use the most current financial report form. And one of the things that I intend to do, hopefully before I think I can probably get it done before the next report, is to actually put the date that it was revised, because sometimes there are all kinds of different forms floating around out there. So we'll get a date revised and make some little revisions on it. Run all your transactions through a bank account. Match up your receipts and bank accounts. The spreadsheet, this financial report is actually a spreadsheet, and it will calculate for you. But what some folks are doing is overriding the calculation cells. So what I want to do shortly, I hope, is just put up a spreadsheet. It'll be that form, but lock the calculation cells so you can't write over it, and then make sure everything balances. Okay, here's a copy of the front page of the financial report, and you'll be doing this 4 times a year. I know you're all very good at following directions and filling in everything. Note over here on the income side that all the account numbers start with a 4. Over here on the expense side, all the account numbers start with a 6. There are some forms out there that are mixed up, but this is the one I pulled it right off the website. And like I said, my plan is to get an update and put a date, updated on this form. If there's no account number, it's an internal transfer. For example, income from regional or nationals, or over here, SJD disbursement. We'll handle that from the national office, from my office. And then the 4I signature. Some of you have seen this before, some haven't. Just last week, the national board approved that you don't have to actually sign this form. The second person that's looking at it, if you want to send an email saying, I reviewed this, saying the same thing, that'll be fine. We just need some kind of acknowledgement that someone else has looked at your financial report. Second page, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but if you need help, you can talk to your RJD, you can talk to an experienced SJD. But this is when you get a bank statement and you don't have all the deposits in or all the checks written out, you just do a balance. And then you'll fill out down here at the bottom all the information about your bank, just so we, if you get hit by the bus sometime, we hope that doesn't happen, but that we're able to get into the bank accounts as needed. And what'll happen is you have a final adjusted checkbook balance here, second page. That goes right here. And right now in the spreadsheet, that isn't automatic, but we can make that happen. That's not a hard thing to do. So those are some little things we'll do to make the form a little better and easier, hopefully, for you. Okay, moving on. Here's an example. I learned how to do this 100 years ago, well, decades ago. And I used to do this with the IRS when I turned in my receipts. I just put my receipts on a blank piece of paper, just a piece of tape, taped them, and I don't know why it was up in the right corner, but I've seen some other people do it. Somewhere along the road we were taught to do that. Just add it up and circle it. This will help your poor RJD that's going to audit your receipts. So you see, I had one receipt over here for $27, one for $24, added it up, circled it, and it was postage. If you want to write the account number down there, let's see, what was the account number for postage? It'd be 65020. You can do that. But this is helpful. You need to do this somehow. I mean, you might be taking a picture of this with your phone or whatever, but in some manner, you gotta have your receipts. I wanted to point out something else as a former IRS person. It's okay when you write the heck all over these things, okay? In this one, you can see it's different handwriting. This is Barb Tebbin's handwriting. She sent this to me. You can see I checked it off. Okay, I paid it. And then here, I have 3 different colors of ink. That's just how it turned out. And if I were an IRS auditor, I'd be very excited about this because I would know that somebody didn't just create this because I was coming in to audit. That would be a signal that, oh, okay, this is what they're doing. And then I see the next one, I did another one. I only had one receipt here. And this, I reimbursed myself for some office supplies, and I paid the date I paid, and this was what it was. And, you know, it's okay. It's okay if you know, you still want everything to be readable, but it's okay if you make little notes on your receipts or on your reports. That's fine.
Robin, can you just circle back and let us know how the financial assistant, how do we note that that was reviewed by the financial assistant?
The 4I things with the financial assistance here?
Correct.
Okay, so what was the question?
Kathleen was asking, how do we note that it was reviewed by a second set of eyes before sending it to the RJD? And when we send receipts, can we have the receipts go through a different expense account on the same page?
Okay, two good questions. There's a couple of ways you can do the 4I's thing. That's your assistant looked at them. You can have them actually sign off on this report. It might be a, you know, it could be a live signature, it could be a electronic signature if you can figure out how to do that, or you can send all this to your financial assistant person, and they can send you an email stating, I've reviewed this and found they're included in the, you can just kind of copy this wording, and that email will have their date and their name on it. So that's another way to do it. And then the other question I already forgot. Oh, can you do two different, be nice to your RJD. I suppose you could put two different receipts for a different category on the same piece of paper, but frankly, it's helpful if they're all on different sheets of paper. You don't, I mean, be nice to your RJD that's going to look at this stuff. You know, if you have one postage here and another postage there, and they're not very organized, it's hard to be looking at that. So, and besides which, you need to know your total postage, right? Do you really want one on one sheet and one 3 sheets later and whatever? I mean, it's up to you, but.
Can I just ask a follow-up since I asked that question? I of course would have all of the postage on the same paper. I'm saying maybe I had only one receipt for postage, and then I had a receipt for our website bill. Can I include both of those? Because what I do is tape my receipts to a piece of paper, and then I scan it in to my computer. So are you recommending, okay, if I only have one postage receipt, put that one receipt on a page, and then now I have a.
Okay, now I understand. That's fine. That would be fine. Okay. I did exactly the same here. You can't, well, you can kind of see the tape, but I just taped these on a piece of paper and scanned them. But yeah, if you just had a couple receipts like that, that'd be fine. Okay. Just be organized and orderly about it. Help your poor RJD out. Okay. Good questions. Thank you. Thank you. You can keep track of things in Excel file. I was just playing around different ways you can do it. There's a lot of different ways to do this. It's just be organized and orderly, I think, is the most important thing. And you guys are gymnastics judges. Of course, you're organized and orderly. How could you do this job without being that? There's a travel expense voucher that you would include if you had to travel. This is typically like when you go to the National Judges Cup or whatever. Judges Cup and Fundraisers, there's a form for this. These are all, I'm not going to spend a lot of time telling you how to fill out forms because you're smart people, you can figure this out. But there's a fundraiser form here. Again, that issue of cash, which is generally your gate receipts and sometimes your concession. I was talking to a USAG person, and they said the #1 way that clubs are being audited is that cash. Let's say they had 1,000 participants, and let's say they charged $10 for admission. Okay, before COVID, back in the good old days, let's see, 1,000 participants, I'd expect at least 1,000 spectators, at least one per participant. And I was charging $10, okay. I would expect to have $10,000 in cash, right? And if someone reported $500 or something, that would be a clue that, hey, wait a minute, let's see how many people entered that meet. And that doesn't make any sense, that isn't adding up. So just again, that same area. And I have seen, looking at some of the states' judges' cups, I've seen $5,000 in cash. I've seen $10,000 in cash coming in from the admissions. So it's just an area for everybody to be aware of, and to be aware that we're all aware of it too. If that makes sense. There's a wonderful document. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. You guys can read. This is on the website, and this is a terrible PowerPoint slide because you should only have a few things on a PowerPoint slide. But there's a wonderful, wonderful document that a committee, an ad hoc committee put together, and they just got it done prior to me coming in, with all kinds of examples of how you can spend money appropriately that's supporting our mission. So this would be some good things. We have, if you run a clinic, this would be your typical place. If you're paying a clinician, there's 2 forms you need to turn in. One's a W-9 saying, okay, we paid this clinician. And then you send this is a NAWGJ form that comes into me. And this is important in talking to our accountant. This is the #1 most important thing. We think the tax return is. Tax return's pretty straightforward because we do our income, we do our expenses, la, la, la. But the W-9s and 1099s that we have to issue because of this, if we don't get those sent out by January 30th of each year, we start having to pay a penalty for not getting them out. So it is important to get those W-9s sent in. And I have not jumped into this. This is one of my projects I got to do next, but yeah. And yet another form, there's an equipment inventory form that's supposed to come in once a year. I was looking this over. I see down here, it was last put together in July 2018. I see a discrepancy with what this form says and what our operating code says. So that is going to be something that the finance committee will look at. But just know that once a year you need to report your equipment inventory, and I already can kind of see that we probably need to get things congruent on that. So just so you know that it's out there. We'll try to get that done before the end of the year, fiscal year, so we get that straight. So that kind of concludes this overview. And I'm sure some of you are feeling just a little overwhelmed that there's an awful lot to take in with this. But I just want to again encourage, ask the questions. A lot of them can be answered. The SJD portion of the website has copies of the forms. And really, don't be nervous. You can learn this. This is a really super smart group of people. And you have resources besides the web page. You have your regional judging directors. You have experienced SJDs. You could ask me. And then my comment about lead by example, that's as you're spending money. That's covering all these things about making sure we're spending our money on the mission, making sure we're not in the tax word in the tax world, they call it inurnment, that as a volunteer, you're not benefiting financially from being a volunteer. Lead by example that way. And just a reassurance, we're all going to be learning together, myself included, to assure that we are using our finances to support our mission, that we don't become so focused on the finances that we forget about our mission. So with that, I'm going to stop screen sharing, see if there's any more questions. I'll look.